right. It looks like we have managed to do it. We have managed to go live. Oh, it was slightly stressful getting that all set up. So what I need to do, I need to check that everybody has managed to get me here. So for those of you that have jumped on, I apologize that we're half an hour late. I had to pull Nims away from doing something really important. He was actually busy signing some loan documents. Nims has bought himself a property, busy signing some loan documents. Nimesh is our IT man. He handles all this. We had a bit of a glitch between Facebook and Zoom, but we are here and we're not even half an hour late. We're 23 minutes late. And it's with great pleasure that I bring on a good friend of mine, someone who, for those of you who are amongst the Wealth Mentor fraternity, would have seen her face plenty of times. The beautiful and wonderful Belinda, welcome.
Hi, Jono. Good to be here.
Yeah, we got there and we were having a few offline chats while Nimesh was working really hard to get everything under control at his end, and he did a fantastic job. So great to be here, and thank you to those of you that have stuck around or joining us now. It is awesome to have you as always on my coffee catch-ups, which I'm pretty excited about. What do you think of the concept, Belle?
That's good, Jono. There's a lot of people sitting around in lockdown, so I guess you've got a captive audience, and there's going to be a lot of pent-up desire to act, hopefully, coming out the other end of it. So
absolutely, and that's actually what I started my whole coffee catch-ups was around my goals, and set myself some lockdown goals. One of them was for me to exercise every day, which, you know, back when I was a tennis coach was nice and easy, but I've really the body's hurting, but I've managed to succeed so far on that one. But so Belinda, obviously we've known each other for a while now. We had a bit of a chat offline, and we figured out that it was 2017 that we met over in Perth, and what a journey it's been since then. I mean, you've done an amazing job with your investing alongside the ever-inspiring Steve. So I'll give you the floor for a minute just to say hello, introduce yourself, and how and why we met over in Perth in 2017.
Right, so in 2017, Steve and I were fairly recently married, and we'd just come back from doing half of a circumnavigation of the world in a sailing yacht, someone else's sailing yacht. And just working our way, basically backpacking, free accommodation and travel on the yacht in return for our labour, night watches and the such like. But we only got halfway around, because by the time we arrived in Galapagos, I was pregnant. And we made the difficult decision not to cross the open part of the Pacific from Galapagos through to Hiva in that state. And we came back to Western Australia, and found that our lives fell back into exactly the same place they were prior to us leaving on that trip of a lifetime, which was working full-time with negatively geared houses, and most of our income went to paying off mortgages in a market that was declining. So our wealth was getting less the harder we worked. So we met Jono at a property education event, Wealth Mentor, running in Perth.
Yeah, it was pretty wicked, and you know, what you guys have achieved and what you're doing is always inspiring, and I love jumping on the phone and catching up with you, because you've always got an exciting story about a refinance or a renovation or a valuation or something's going on, and it's truly inspiring. So just for context, you know, within what you're willing to share on a live stream here, what is it that you've managed to achieve in your property journey since we met 2017 to obviously now in 2021? What an interesting 2021 it is.
It is indeed. When we met Jono, when we were seeking an education, we were sort of at the point where we realized we were doing something wrong. We just didn't know how to do it right. We were pretty sure that property was the way forward, but we now had 4 negatively geared houses, and we were paying over $50,000 a year in mortgage costs, and they were going backwards. So it didn't feel like we were doing the right thing. So we'd figured out that education was what we needed to do to start doing the right thing.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And then fast forward to today, I know that your last few purchases have been fairly impressive, making the news, and even managed to do that during lockdown. So, you know, what is your investing journey kind of taking you to, and you know,
Well,
yeah.
Loosely speaking, we've gone from that negative $50,000 a year to six figures a couple of times over in positive passive cash flow. And we've taken a fairly modest wealth through to a good couple of million in equity sitting in property investment, beginning to diversify into other asset classes now too. It's phenomenal, the speed at which we've been able to change our fortunes.
And I know that for you, education is something that you talk about a lot, and you're very passionate about, you know, education and the fact that it can fast forward your wealth. But I think as well, you're obviously very passionate about being able to help other people as well in terms of that, and hence being a big part of Wealth Mentor as well. Now, I'll let you elaborate more on those concepts.
Well, back to our sort of pre-education background, Jono, we were well-educated people, comparatively speaking. We are both relatively intelligent people, comparatively speaking. We'd done more than average amount of research on the Perth market in order to buy the houses, and we still got it so dramatically wrong. What we didn't have was a specific property education. So I use this phrase a bit, but there are good deals in bad markets and bad deals in good markets, and education teaches you to know the difference. Specific property education, because we're well-educated people, but we're headed down dramatically the wrong path. So good deals in bad markets, bad deals in good markets. Education will show you the difference.
So, I mean, pretty amazing that you've now gone into the space of actually educating people in your own right. And I know that you've represented Wealth Mentor alongside some pretty impressive names. We're talking, Elena Cardone, Jim Quick, your face up there amongst those, which is, again, all inspiring. But, that wasn't obviously your background. You've got a pretty interesting background as well. Your former life, flying a couple of Cessnas around.
Yeah, a little faster than that. Flying for the Air Force was an epic opportunity. It was my life dream. I've never been particularly interested in money. And so when I figured that I would have to have a job my whole life, I might as well do something I like doing. And so from a young age, I was passionate about aviation, and I just pursued that goal. From when I was 13, I decided, through to when I was 18 and got in, and then 22 graduating pilot's course. I just wouldn't consider anything else, and ended up spending 15 years in the Air Force and 10 years as a qualified pilot. Done some pretty cool things.
Yeah, and I absolutely love your concept. Is it stick goes forward, trees gets bigger? Is that the one? I'm doing it really badly, so I'll let you just quickly throw that one in there.
I've flippantly been known to say that being a pilot's not that hard. Monkey see, monkey do. Push stick forward, trees get bigger. Pull stick back, trees get smaller. That's pretty much as hard as it is. And don't hit the edges of the sky. Yeah. That's brilliant. Things that appear incredibly complex can be simplified, and property investing is very similar to that.
Yeah.
It may appear difficult or complex, but it can be simplified. And everyone can do it with the right specific education.
Yeah, and I think that comes back down to something that I know you're very big on, is the whole mindset and how you set yourself up, and what you believe, and the path that you set yourself. And you do a lot of work with our students in terms of mindset and how they can better themselves. Is there a few things that you would share with people in this forum that you think could help them to change the way that they view things or mindset? I know that we've only got a few minutes, and I apologize, because I know you got a wealth of knowledge in that head, but a couple of points.
Well, interestingly, Jono, I do have a couple of points, but when I reflect on them, they're actually the same points that I would share with my junior pilots about what they're trying to achieve. And one of the privileges I had as a flying instructor was women are very, very underrepresented. And so I did a lot of one-on-one work with the women trainees coming through to help them overcome all the, invisible barriers that the Air Force had at that point admitted existed. And so actually my advice is very similar to around property investing as what I would have shared with them in my professional capacity. And that is, you can't be it if you can't see it. So we know women pilots don't move up through the ranks because they can't see women role models. It's exactly the same with property. If you and your circle of friends and people and influence, if there aren't others doing what you want to do, it's going to be very hard for you to become it, because you can't be it if you can't see it. And that speaks to getting yourself around people that are doing it better than you, or even just other people that are doing it. But you want both. You want people to grow with, and you want people to grow up to, or that can turn around and pull you up the next rung. So if you can't see it in your life around you, change your circumstances so you are surrounded by people that are doing it. Because I can't think of a better way than saying it's a little bit like magic. Stuff just starts to happen for you too. That's one thing. And it's actually very similar to the other point I want to make. It's most people have probably heard fake it till you make it. And that talks about imposter syndrome. Again, something that's really common amongst especially female trainee pilots is they don't feel like they should be there. They feel like they're faking it, that it's not actually them. They're just putting on a mask and coming to work. So fake it till you make it became a catchphrase, but it's actually fake it till you become it. Because at some point you'll step into those shoes and look back and realize that you've been doing it for a long time. You are it. And I say the same with property investing. Fake it till you become it. Nobody feels like a property investor straight after they've done the education, but they learn to stand up and say, I'm a property investor, and then they start behaving like it. Nobody feels like a property investor when they buy their first house as an investment. But at some point they look back and go, I became a property investor at some point in my recent past. Not quite sure when I crossed the threshold, but I have now become it. So fake it till you become it.
Yeah, those are very inspiring words, and I can see a few comments coming through. People really appreciating that. I think that really resonates. And like I said, a wealth of knowledge and some really great concepts. So thank you for sharing that. So fast forward, you've now built an impressive portfolio. You're a mentor. You're working with students, helping other people. But as on top of that, there's other passions in your life that it's almost provided for you, your property. So for you, what are the passions? And then taking a step back from that, were those passions what drove you to achieve what you've achieved?
Yeah, good question. I guess it speaks a bit to my why. Like I said at the start, that money doesn't mean an awful lot, but having the choices that come with having money does mean an awful lot. And one of those is owning my own time. And when you own your own time, suddenly you've got all this time to fill with stuff you want to do, not stuff you have to do for someone else to put money in your bank account. So if you've got time and money's coming into your bank account because you've set up a passive income stream, suddenly you've got all this space to do things you love. And no doubt those things for me will change and evolve. At the moment, my two little girls take up a lot of my time at 4.5 and 1.5. But amongst that, I get to go out surfing on a weekday morning or whenever the wind's best. I can just take off my surfboard. I've recently bought a hydrofoil, so that's the wing underneath the board. So my gift to myself this year is learning to hydrofoil. So I've got it nailed behind a jet ski, but the next step is to take it out in the surf off the point and be able to lift off down the face of the wave. Sailing for us is a big passion, and it's actually what started our whole wealth journey. We got halfway around the world and not the rest of the way, thanks to circumstances and poor planning, shall we say. But we're determined to finish the circumnavigation, and we're going to have to do it with our kids. And that means we're going to have to own the boat. and that means we're going to have a passive income so we can live on it and sail around the world for a year. So sailing, as the kids get a bit older, will be something we do a lot more of as we prepare them for that circumnavigation.
That's so wicked. That's amazing. And the why is something that's so powerful, and something that we talk a lot about within Wealth Mentor. You know, that again, coming back to our catchphrase, making wealth accessible to all. That wealth for everybody is going to mean something different, but at the end of the day, you're going to need a why as to why you want to create that wealth. What's the actual passion behind creating the wealth? Because if you don't understand what that is, then there's no real driver to achieve it. And then, like you say, you'll probably just be, you know, continuing on day-to-day life and the grind and trading your time for money for someone else. So yeah, the why is definitely something huge. Now, on top of that, you talk about the point. Now, this point, you've got an Australian accent, but that point's not in Australia. So you've actually made the shift over to the beautiful New Zealand, and definitely not living in a high-rise apartment in Auckland City. So what is the lifestyle that you and Steve have created for yourself, and moving over to the much superior, I don't know, you're a big rugby fan, much superior rugby nation?
I'm not going to engage on the topic of rugby. One, I have zero interest, and two, I have a feeling you're correct. So
yeah, no.
Look, we moved to New Zealand for the adventure. Steve's passionate about agriculture and working, loves working in agriculture, so he actually took a job over here. We'd actually decided to move with or without employment, because our property businesses over here were going so well. I just wanted to do everything faster and better. That doesn't sound like something a pilot would say. So we moved. It was the right timing for us. We had one young kid. My career had come to a natural point of exit or change. Yeah, it was good timing. Kids not in school yet. We will move back to Australia, Jono, despite all the wonderful attributes of New Zealand. But yeah, meanwhile, we're living in Raglan, which is, I'm so surprised how many Aucklanders don't know where Raglan is. It's an hour and a half south. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. Go to Hamilton and turn to the east. Don't come over the hills to the west and find paradise. And yeah, there's some epic surf breaks here, and I ride my skateboard to and from town if I'm not pushing a pram, and yeah, the lifestyle's awesome.
Yeah, that's so wicked. It's so wicked. And I mean, the interesting thing is that you built a substantial portfolio from Perth, which gave the ability just to move over to New Zealand without actually having to worry about the income side, which is again the freedom of choice, which I know that you're big on.
So I mean, on that note, and on a slightly more a topic of slightly more gravity for our family is this lockdown, this border closure isn't working for us. All our family is in Western Australia. It's been a long time since the kids have seen the grandparents. Well, not a long time, but a lot longer than I'd like it to be. And we are in the extremely privileged position of not needing to be employed. So we are here because we choose to be, and the day we choose not to be, we can get on a plane and leave without it being a financial issue. Yeah, that's my why.
I know that the whole lockdown has been hard on many people, and I know for yourself as well, it's been extremely hard. So I think, or I hope that catching up with people in this coffee forum and people jumping on and watching, that we can bring some light and realize that there's a community out there that we all just want the best for each other. So
on that, can I say something?
Of course you can.
I don't know how many other mums are watching this, but damn it, lockdown with your kids is hard. I love my kids, but I was never ever meant to be 100% full-time carer. It's not my bag. My patience isn't particularly long, and I've definitely taken up day drinking. So if there's anyone else out there in a similar boat, I get it. You're in good company. People sometimes look at me and think I've achieved a lot or whatever, but let me tell you, this is hard.
Yeah.
The home front is fucking hard.
Absolutely. And look out for each other, because it is certainly tough times on everybody, and we want to be here for everybody. So reach out to us if you need anything, team. That's what we are here for. coming to my favorite question of the session. I get to ask this to everybody. So far I've had on the show, I had Paul last week. We all love Paul, and he was amazing. Lawrence yesterday. So the question being, what does wealth actually mean to you? Because for everybody, wealth means something different. What is it? If you look at the specifics, you dig down deep, what does wealth mean to you as Belinda Beatty?
I guess I've alluded to some of the points. It means owning my own time, because with that time, I can then optimize my health, which means giving attention to my body and mind or spiritual growth as much as I want to, not as much as I've got left. That's a really significant point of wealth for me, because health is your first wealth, and the happiest person wins. So while I don't think that wealth and happiness are directly correlated, I do believe that wealth gives you choice and access to things that may be the things that make you happy. So time, freedom, choices, that's what wealth means to me, not money in a bank account. And so that explains why we've pushed so hard on a passive cash flow strategy, because we wanted our time back. And time brings health, and time brings time with family, and time brings the ability to make extraordinary choices. And I don't know if that says enough, but
yeah, that really does. And I love asking that question because again, coming back to the catchphrase of wealth means, or the tagline, making wealth accessible to all, but that actual wealth is so different. And everybody I've asked so far on the show has given me a slightly different version of what wealth, because wealth is so individual as to what it is that really drives you. And that certainly was a great answer. Thank you, Belle. So in parting words, and I'm sure they're going to be, not to put any pressure on you, I'm sure they're going to be fantastic here. But if for the people that get to watch this, we've got a number of people on live, which is really cool. Make sure you jump in, you hit the like button, give us a comment. Thank you to Belle as well if you've enjoyed some of the things or some of the biggest takeaways from Belle today. But I'll leave you with the final word, Belle, before I harp on about one of my goals and getting more Instagram followers. But if you can jump on, please, and just give us, some parting words and just some words. How's that for an ending?
Yeah. Look, I'd say many of you listening probably will have a level of property education. Perhaps some don't. What I'd say is that anytime you take on something new, something you want to learn, or you're going through the phases of learning something new, it's always uncomfortable. Learning new things is uncomfortable. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, your lack of comfort in a situation or uncertainty is stopping you from going forward, just rationalize that it's actually perfectly normal and go forward anyway. So lockdown for some is a time of everything falling in on themselves, because suddenly they've got 60 more responsibilities than they did before. But for others, you may have a bit more space in your head right now. What do you want to do with that space? Is it time to learn something else? And if it is, it's okay being uncomfortable with it. Let's get into it.
Beautiful. I love it. So like I said, I was going to harp on about my Instagram. One of my goals was to double my Instagram following. I'm not quite there, but it's growing. So guys, if you're watching this, make sure you jump on over and give me a follow on Instagram, and Belinda as well. Jump in, find her on social medias. I know she's not a huge social media person.
Not very good at Instagram.
Yeah, but it's
I'm trying.
Yes, exactly. So please jump in. As well as that, if you want to read some of Belinda's stories, she's got a blog. Where can they find that, Belle?
www.telt.com.au, and then the blog section of that.
Cool. What does TELT mean? What does it stand for?
This extraordinary life together.
Beautiful.
It's actually pre-exists our property education. It was the promise Stephen and I made to each other when we got married. There you go.
Awesome. That's a brilliant. So guys, jump on, have a bit of a read of Belle's story if you want to hear more from her. And thank you, Belle, for joining us. Apologies on the technical side. We had to bring Nims in. Like I said, Nims was busy signing his loan documents on the property that he's purchased in Rotorua, multi-income, pretty good cash flows and pretty wicked equity. So it's really exciting when your tech guy is literally doing property deals. So exciting times. Congrats, Nims, you legend. Belinda, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us today. And tomorrow we have another ripper of a guest. We've actually got Helen jumping in on Thursday. We've got Shane on Friday. We've got some really cool guests coming up this week. So make sure you jump in, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks, Belle. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, Jono.